All right. It says you are live. Hey, welcome everyone to another installment of Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. That's right. I want to be an advocate in the profession or the skill set or the path of professional coaching. So I am currently the vice president of communication for the Professional Coaches Alliance. And last year I became executive director of California Coaches, taking over for Kimberly Arago. And I'm really grateful for where I've gotten in my career, and I'm at a point in my life where I want to give back and promote the endeavor of learning how to coach and incorporating coaching skill sets into an entrepreneurial endeavor or whatever your career path may be. So Get a Clue in 52. By now you may know that this is the third Get a Clue in 52 book that I've come up with. So let me just do a quick review. First of all, this is the original. This was the one that had all the mistakes in it. And I found all of the mistakes because I would read a tip every Sunday night and stream into social media channels. So that's how the books are organized. There's 5 categories, around 10 tips in each category, but I want to get to 52 because the plan is to be able to be relevant and go live and do something for free once a week that is a legitimate reason to put myself out there and invite people to come on in and interact with me. I don't know who we're going to get today, Friday. It doesn't look like anybody's waiting in the studio to come online, but I see a couple of eyeballs out there in cyberspace. So hello to you if you're tuning in. And I might be able to put an invitation to join in the studio into the comments or something like that at some point. But let me get through this introduction. So I found when I went and I was reading all the tips, excuse me, I found all the mistakes and I was like embarrassed, but I was still proud. It's like, done is better than perfect. And, the only mistake to be afraid of is the one you don't learn from. And it's better to regret something you did than something you didn't do. So all of that keeps me rolling. And so I corrected all of the mistakes and came out with the second edition of the first book. These are the same books, but this one is cleaned up and better formatting and editing and all the right technical details for self-publishing on Amazon. And it's laid out better. And we cleaned up some of the typos. And I had even, in this one, I'd even misspelled my own name. If you can laugh, if you can laugh with me at me, right? They say out there that if you don't love yourself, how can anybody else love you? And I say, well, if I can't laugh at myself, how can anybody else laugh at me? So I hope you're laughing with me. So this one's out of the way. This one's done. This one is much better. So you can pick up this version. And then my good friend and client, Vipul, said, I'm working on a book, but I can't seem to get the momentum. And I really like what you did. Can you help me? Can we soundboard? Can we brainstorm? So we came up with concepts for his book, Give Your Way to the Top. We still went with 52 tips. And his categories are learning how to receive, then learning how to produce, then learning how to lead others in their production, then learning how to protect everything that's being produced. And our health and everything else, right? And then finally, the last section is give, learn how to serve and give. And that's what he's doing. Vipul Dayal has Charity for Hope. And so this whole book leads us on a path to understanding what his charity is, Charity for Hope, how we can get involved in Charity for Hope, how we can be inspired to do our own charitable efforts, etc. Give your way to the top. So Vipul was reading these tips every Tuesday night, and I would join him for those sessions. I'd do my sessions on Sunday night for Get a Clue in 52, and he would do his sessions on Tuesday night for Give Your Way to the Top. And then we both got done and we were looking around like, what do we do now? And I said, well, I got an idea. How about we do another version of Get a Clue in 52, but we do an entrepreneur's edition. And we'll have all 5 categories be about entrepreneurial endeavors. We'll do personal branding. We'll do business acumen, business ownership, leadership and influence, and then finally work-life balance. And he's like, that's great. Let's do the project. Co-author Vipul and Jeff. And I said, but you're so particular about your branding and your design. It looks so good. It's so you, Vipul. Why don't we tweak the name of the book a little bit, do 2 different ISBN numbers, and then we'll do a version, same book, but in Vipul's branding. So his is Grow Your Way to the Top, and mine is Soft Skills for Strong Leaders, but it's the same 5 categories, same 5 tips. It's just I'm the lead author on this book, and he's the lead author on this book. And I've never seen that done before, a co-branded joint venture project on a book. A lot of times you see these collaborative projects and the people that are getting involved in the collaboration are making a contribution to a book. They're contributing to the leader's brand, and then they're on their own to go sell it and market it, right? So what I did is, and again, so Vipul is, promoting my brand a little bit to Get a Clue in 52, but we did a successful project there, and it was creative and collaborative and neat. And along the way, and by the way, we read all of those tips last year. So 2022, we went on every Tuesday night and we would read the tips. Let me go ahead and add Tom Teague to the room. Tom, I see you. I'm still in opening remarks, so we'll welcome you on board and start a dialogue in just a second, but it's always good to see you, my friend, and happy Friday. So back to my chronological introduction. While we were doing Get a Clue in 52, while we were working on the book, I was also putting finishing touches on the integrity game. And I promote the integrity game wildly in all kinds of other forums and platforms endeavors. This book got me back to San Diego State to teach organizational communication. We're in the semester and it's required reading for these students. And I'm seeing what kind of assignment work that they're doing around the concepts and the themes of the integrity game. But this is different. This is a parable. It's a story, and it introduces a 10-point model of integrity. What Get a Clue in 52 is all about is tips. 5 categories full of a year's worth of tips that give me a reason to be consistently visible, available, and hopefully valuable to those of you that are joining or watching the recordings and what have you. So that brings us to this year's edition, Get a Clue in 52. And like I said, it's for coaches, myself included. Check this out. I want more integrity in my life, so I wrote a book about the integrity game. And I want to be a better coach and leader in the coaching industry, so I wrote a book called Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, and myself included. Somebody told me one time, I think it might have been Natalie Susie. Natalie, if you're out there, I think this might have been you, but a lot of times the work that we do in our careers has a direct correlation to what we want or need in our lives, right? Like we're working on what we really need for ourselves, even though we're working on it for others. I mean, the best way to, what do they say? The best way to learn is to teach, on and on. So here we go. As a matter of review, let's get into today's tip. And the 5 categories are self-promotion. That's where we are right now. Today's tip number 4 in the self-promotion category. And then chronologically, after we promote ourselves, then we get leads or prospects, and we have an opportunity to enroll people in coaching and get people engaged in our leadership, right? And then once they're on board, then it's just motivation plus accountability equals results. So we've got a set of tips for how do we motivate people, and a set of tips for how do we hold people accountable. And then finally, the last category, which all of this is building to, and Dr. Tom and I are going to discuss this, I believe it's, weekly perhaps, is practice building. How do you build a practice? It's great to learn how to coach, but how do you build a business, or how do you build revenue? How do you build how do you build an organization around your coaching skill set? An organization that does what? Makes money, makes profit, compensates you for your coaching with profit left over so you can grow right, depending on what your goals are. And that's challenging. And I'm here to tell you, it's tough. When I was writing this book, I was found myself in memoir land, remembering all of the struggles. The most fun I never want to repeat are some of those days pushing the boulder uphill, right? But and there's still a lot of room to grow. I have so much vision for how much further I can take this, but it's not just about coaching. And that's one of the points that I'm trying to make in the book, and I'm definitely going to emphasize today. So when you pick up your copy of the book, you're going to understand, well, first of all, welcome to Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. On the dedications page, I dedicated it to my family, right? I was even silly. I said, I dedicate this to myself because the struggle is real and I'm proud of myself for where I got. But the truth of the matter is, when people ask me what I do for a living, I say I wake up every day and I figure out how I'm going to deserve my wife and kids because I'm a lucky dude. And next thing I know, I'm out of bed helping people. It's working out for me. There was a foreword written by Troy Hoffman. Search him, Google him, check him out. He's a stud. He's a leader. He's an entrepreneur. He founded and built an incredible company called Simpluris. Now he's fractional founder, if you will, helping other people get their companies rolling off the ground. And he's somebody that I was his first coach. And at times, in the last year or two, I've called him and confided in him and leaned on him for support. And he was kind enough to write the foreword for the book. And it's a real compliment to me. And then we start, the self-promotion section. So tip number 1 in this section was start calling yourself a coach. There's always a point in time where we have to embrace that identity as a coach when we're learning the skill sets of coaching. Then tip number 2 was only call yourself a coach when. Don't get so enamored, oh my God, I know how to coach now. I know how to coach now. I'm a coach. Stop, slow down. Only call yourself a coach when it's relevant in the conversation, when somebody asks you, when it's appropriate. You got to temper that excitement, because I'm going to tell you, you have every reason in the world to be as excited can be when you learn how to coach. It's the most powerful tool that I've ever had at my disposal to really systematize and be efficient in the impact that I can make for others. That's incredibly exciting. And there's a desire to like tell the whole world, look what I know, look what I know, look what I can do. I can make a difference for people. It's amazing. It's amazing. But slow down. You need to speak to listening. You got to need to speak to the person's listening. So that's what we were talking about there. Only call yourself a coach when it's appropriate, when it's viable, when people ask, etc. Those times will come. Wait your turn. Wait your time. Be interested in others. We still don't want to lose these principles about how to win friends and influence people like Dale Carnegie taught us. We always want to be interested in others first. Okay. Next, don't just call yourself a coach. I thought this was a really fun tip last week, Dr. Tom. I thought we had, a good dialogue around it. And this Kluby snack emerged that when people put the word just in front of something, it's a sign of weakness at best, minimization most probably, and flat out lying at worst. Hashtag Kluby snack. And that brings us to today. Stop calling yourself a coach. Tom's like, what? No, we're here in the Professional Coaches Alliance. We want coaches, coaching members. Let's coaching services. Like, what do you mean stop? Well, I'm going somewhere with this, right? So are we ready to get into today's tip? First of all, Tom, do you want to say hello and introduce yourself for a second before I read the tip?
Hi. Yeah, glad to be here, Jeff. Thanks for putting these on every Friday. It's a good opportunity to reconnect what it's like to be a coach. And I'm the president of the Professional Coaches Alliance, I think, as you've said before. And
it says so on the banner too, so we know we're
okay. So anyway, I was privileged actually to lead a couple of what we call Biz Lab sessions in the PCA this past week, and it's really it's interesting. We banter back and forth about the practice of coaching versus a coaching business and that sort of thing. What I discovered in preparing for the Biz Lab this week, the dictionary calls a business a practice of making a living. So, so the point is, we're both right. Coaching is if you have a coaching business, it's a practice of using coaching to make money.
Yeah. The thing is, everybody's right. I don't believe in right or wrong. I believe in pleasure. Here's the thing. I don't believe in right or wrong, but I believe in pleasure and pain.
Okay.
And what this book is about is the pleasure that's waiting for us if we're ready to endure the pain of building a practice. Okay. Sure. And so we're going to get into that. It's great to have you here. I do want to get into tip number 4 and have our conversation kind of rally around this progression. Remember, start calling yourself a coach. Only call yourself a coach when. Don't just call yourself a coach. And now we're on stop calling yourself a coach. So let's get into the tip and then see what kind of dialogue emerges. I want to know more about how your workshop went, which is great. But let me make sure I have a pen handy in case I catch any errors. Here we go. Tip number 4 on page 33 and Get a Clue in 52 for coaches, myself included. Here we go. Stop calling yourself a coach. Like it or not, as soon as you call yourself a coach, you will trigger various degrees and forms of ego defense that can become obstacles in a relationship. Ego is not arrogance, as it is commonly referred to, but instead it's one's sense of self. And I might add sense for self. Ego defense then is emotional fight or flight response. It is the automatic attacking or ignoring of any information coming along that might counter, threaten, or fall outside of our current sense of self. An actualized or growth-minded person handles this much differently than a myopic, insecure, or ignorant person. But we all have hardwired ego defense built in. I was going kind of slow there intentionally. Let's move on to the second paragraph, and I'll review any of this if I need to, but I'm really liking this first paragraph here, setting up the concept of ego defense and how automatic it is. Let's go back to word for word for a second. Here we go. I can only imagine what this might be like for professionals like psychiatrists, therapists, marriage and family counselors, fitness trainers, nutritionists, police officers, and so many others I can imagine, I'm sure. Perhaps you go through this yourself when having to say, I'm not working right now, to people in your non-professional life because you see them relating to you as your profession instead of you as the person or anything other than what you do professionally. I have been accused of trying to coach someone just because I asked a question or shared my opinion on a topic that differs from theirs. Without knowing it, people are automatically put on the defensive and immediately self-preserve. to protect their identity from anyone who might know more about themselves than they do. And by the way, coaches, we do know some things that people don't know about themselves, and that you follow just the very presence of it could trigger ego defense. Are you tracking, Tom? Is this making sense so far in the cadence that I'm reading it? Okay. So let's continue. It is safe when we meet an IT person or a bank teller who knows nothing about our personal decisions, habits, patterns, addictions, self-destructions, etc. But I've never wondered if I'm crazy more than after meeting a shrink. Never more self-loathing about my belly than in the company of a fitness trainer. Never more defensive about my lawfulness, curious about the health of my marriage, disciplined in what I'm willing to be seen eating or drinking than when I am in the company of somebody who knows I can do better than what I'm doing. And that is the effect we as coaches can have on others too. If I say I'm a coach, I run the risk of triggering ego defense in people that will have them automatically ignoring or resisting things I say that might threaten their sense of self or trigger an introspection they are not ready to make. However, if I say, for example, that I am a soft skill services provider and my menu includes training, coaching, consulting, and info products, a person will be far less likely to be personally on the defensive than if I had just called myself a coach. And especially if I called myself just a coach. This 4-tip evolution is complete when you can stop calling yourself a coach in situations where doing so may trigger ego defense and impose limits on the true potential of the opportunity, relationship, or experience you find yourself in. There you have it. Tip number 4, stop calling yourself a coach. So we're 16 minutes into session number 4, Get a Clue in 52 for coaches. Tom, there it is, man. Do you have any comments or questions around tip number 4? And thank you for joining, of course.
Yeah, no, so I like the fact that you bring in, I would just call it the normal human condition of ego defensiveness.
Yeah, emotional fight or flight.
And how putting labels on yourself can trigger those things. So I think that's worth thinking about. So it's really kind of going back to your earlier tip about, was it number 2 about call yourself a coach basically when it's an appropriate thing to do. And, even in conversations, like if you notice something, say you're with a friend or family member, it's kind of like, I'm curious, would you be open to a question about that? So you just ask permission if you're going to go into coaching mode. So anyway, but I was also relating to what you were saying about, again, thinking back to what I did in my biz lab this week. When I talk about coaching as a business, and you know this already, chances are you're going to be doing other things like writing books. Here's a copy of your book.
Oh, thank you.
So like writing books, you might be speaking, you might be doing training courses, so you're a trainer. And in some cases, you might actually be consulting or advising. So when you're thinking about being a service professional, you may in fact do all 4 or 5 of these things. So call yourself a coach when it's appropriate, I think and like you're saying, be aware of when you're about to participate in a conversation, you're going to make a coaching remark. Be aware that you might trigger a defensive reaction. So
yeah,
anyway,
I mean,
it's a good tip.
Clearly I've been in these uncomfortable situations where I just want to be myself,
but
myself happens to know some things.
Right.
And so now I have to censor myself. Like, are you trying to coach me? Well, no, I just thought we were having a conversation. This is my contribution. And I've had to say, like, if I was trying to coach you, you'd be paying me a lot of money. So let's get rid of that right now.
Yeah.
You follow, all I'm doing is being a human being and participating in this conversation. So I've learned to dial it down and dial it back and, give people enough rope to hang themselves. Just because I know how to do this doesn't mean I have everybody's permission, but I am who I am. And so I want to be conscious to have some sort of distinction between my personal and professional life. Although when you're endeavoring to be a coach, I do believe to some degree in this notion that a coach isn't what you do, it's who you are. Once you really learn coaching and you learn to master it, you can't unlearn it, that magic of what it takes to help people get out of their own way and move forward in a new direction, get new results.
I think it's a
So
good distinction that coaching is a skill and a practice because, um, before I ever took coaching certification training or whatever, I was a corporate manager, and so I think coaching is a skill that a lot of managers need, say in a corporate setting. So when you're working with people in a professional circumstance, quite often you need to use coaching skills, but you might not. A lot of people may not label them that way.
yeah. Listen, there's a comment coming in from a very, very, very special person who I interacted with when I was like figuring all this out many, many, many moons ago. I want to tip my cap to Dr. Kosh, who's out here and offers a comment. Let me put my comment thanking you for being on board. It's great to see you interacting here, Dr. Kosh. And to connect in real time over a Zoom or something, it would be great. I mean, it's got to be at least 10 years and probably more since we interacted, and I got your very, 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 how should I say, informed, trained sensibility feedback on what I was doing in my coaching path when I developed 2 comp sessions as a point of differentiation instead of 1 comp session and built the practice. And by now, perhaps you've seen how I've taken it over the years since we were interacting way back when. So it's really a treat to see you out there, Dr. Kosh. And I'm going to read your comment. She says, having traded therapy for coaching, right? And then, by the way, let me smile and say, providing therapy, having traded providing therapy for providing coaching, I have recognized that when it's potentially scary for your client to say you will coach them, a coach could simply say, quote, I work with people who, and then fill in whatever your specialty is. So that's a great offering. And Dr. Kosh, I don't know what your schedules are like on Friday, but if you ever want to come on board on the studio side for some real-time interaction, wow, you're definitely invited. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and copy. I just found it. It just happened to be sitting right there, the invitation link. And if you want to come on board and say hello, there it is. There's the link. It's coming your way. And it would be great to see you. But I'm appreciating the comment and the interactivity. It's refreshing. Here we are at 9:21. Just to reset, we're in tip number 4. Stop calling yourself a coach. Tom, do you have any other comments or questions about this before we get into a couple minutes of promotion?
No, it's all right. Go ahead, go for it.
Yeah, well,
good discussion today.
Yeah. I think it's important, and then what this tip really, this is the thing about it. I use Trojan horses all the time, right? So you think this tip is about coaching. It's not. It's about ego defense. I'm talking about ego defense, which is emotional fight or flight response, which is whenever anything that comes along that challenges or is different in any way from our sense of self, we're going to attack or ignore instinctually. And this is an interesting thing when we talk about ego defense. If I heard a buzz by my ear, physical fight or flight response, I'll protect myself. I'll swat and duck right away. And I look and it's a fly instead of a bee. So I'm swatting at, attacking, or ignoring a non-threat. We do the same thing emotionally. When information comes along, coaches, we aren't threats to people. But when people learn that are you trying to coach me? Are you evaluating me, etc.? And I can only imagine, Dr. Kosh, what it's like if you said I'm a therapist and now people start to like second guess what they're going to say. Or if I'm around a police, I'm a law-abiding citizen, by the way. But just put me in the room and somebody says, well, I'm a police officer. Now I'm like, wait, what did I do last night? What? I'm okay. And I start, and it's just automatic. And so we as coaches want to be aware of ego defense. That's not about coaching. It's being aware of the marketplace and how we communicate and how we self-promote, and being careful and graceful and strategic and measured about the process of self-promotion, taking the automatic phenomena of ego defense into account. All right. So listen up. Let's share some information with everybody. We talked about the Professional Coaches Alliance. If you're a coach, if you want to be a coach, if you're a struggling coach, if you want to build a coaching practice, if you're a service provider for coaches and you sell to coaches to help them build their practices, Professional Coaches Alliance has a spot for you, a place for you, an opportunity for you, a relationship for you. We want to hear from you in the Professional Coaches Alliance. I lost one of my lights here, and I'm going to get it back here in just a second. I don't care about the light. All right. Anyway, here we go. Let's see if that charges up for a second. So PCA. Tom, do you have any words about the value of joining PCA, or how easy it is and what people get when they join the Professional Coaches Alliance?
Sure. I think you described it very well. But in terms of what they get, what we do is we have live events every month. So And we bring in guest speakers in the first half of the month, and then our own members, our our business builder members provide business training called Biz Labs in the second half of the month. Uh, so that's what I was just referring to from the last week, is we just went through a Biz Lab this week. In fact, I'm going to give a bonus session on Tuesday next week, and the replays are available. So if you want to come join, my presentation was called Coaching Practice, a Business of Transformation, kind of blending those terms that we were talking about before. But basically, it's leading people step by step through the steps of building a coaching business. And my particular specialty in helping people do that is online business. So the first 2 days this week was just on business in general. Next week, I'm going to talk about how to implement your systems, online technology to help build your business. So that's like a bonus extra session I'm doing next week.
Awesome. All kinds. Oh, missed the link. Yeah, all right, Dr. Kosh, I will follow up. Thank you for that, Tom. Yeah. The workshops and the service providers and the people that are, I would say, we all have a self-interest in what we're doing, but there's a lot of selfless contribution in the Professional Coaches Alliance. And I'm excited to play my role as VP of Communication. I think one of the big wins for us is bringing in the VP of Marketing, Matt Smythe. So tip of the cap and shout out to Matt Smythe out there. And our efforts to grow the organization and keep making it more and more valuable is what we're committed to. Tom?
Yeah, one additional point I want to make is coming from a corporate background and then stepping into being a one-person business owner was a big leap. And I would just say working on your own is difficult. And so one thing the Professional Coaches Alliance does is it brings a place for us to work together and support each other in building our businesses.
All right. Very, very good. Thank you for that. Now, the next thing I want to do, I mentioned this integrity game thing. I wrote this book last year. And again, Get a Klu in 52 series of books isn't about the integrity game thing, but this is something that I'm too proud of. And I know it's too good not to mention. We did a group coaching program that's now evergreen. The integrity game introduces a 10-point model of personal professional growth, how to increase our integrity and make it actionable to improve our own integrity instead of just accuse other people of not having it. So soft skills for strong leaders. And I'm enamored with all the different contexts that this is landing. It's required reading for my students at San Diego State. I did a goal setting workshop for a 20-something person sales team earlier in the week in Northern California. Goal setting is one of the 10 points on the model. I'm working with a school in San Francisco to develop a curriculum based on the integrity game through K through 8 students. So we're going to really bring it down and see what is the youngest person that will still get value from the concepts that we're introducing in the integrity game. And there's all kinds of other opportunities as things blowing up at a pace that so far I can control, but I'm going to need some help because I do it all on my own. But I'm excited, obviously. And what I want to offer you guys is access to the 90-day challenge. This is the group coaching program that we created. I recruited subject matter experts to help me develop the 10-point model, the concepts. We'd get to purpose and gifts and potential. I would bring in experts in those areas, introduce the overall approach, have an interview and a dialogue. We recorded all of those sessions. So when you do the 90-day challenge, you get a signed copy of the book. I know the author, so I can make that happen. A signed copy of the integrity game. You get 2 one-on-one sessions in a group coaching program. So you get access to the private Facebook group. That's where all of the recordings are that we did live in the fall. We're going to do another round of recordings later on this fall. So I got to get moving recruiting subject matter experts to help me with that. And you get a downloadable workbook and all bonus content like flyby coaching videos and motivational Mondays. And I even put 12 Kluby snack videos in, 12 days of Kluby at the end of the year last year in December to be super jovial and cute and just keep pumping content into that group. And you can access all of the content in my private membership site. If you don't want to interact with other people, you're not ready to be that vulnerable yet, but you want to play the game and you want to look within to increase your own integrity, you can interact and get all the content on the private member or the membership site. So the membership site, the Facebook group, the book, the 2 one-on-one sessions, the recordings, and the evergreen nature of continuing to add value to it, all for $500. Now we're going to raise the price in September because it was beta last year. It was the first time we ever did it. So I'm understanding how valuable it is, and the price is going to go up. But until September 1st of 2023, the 90-day challenge is just $497. But if you use this code TIGVIP200, you can get $200 off, and you get it for $297, right? And I haven't decided 100%, but I think the price is going to go up to $997 for that. especially when we put the second round of video sessions in this, the second round of live integrity game sessions focused on one of the points on the model. So there you go. And then, of course, I was in Northern California 2 days ago on Wednesday, delivering the integrity game, and it was for a sales team, and they were doing vision boarding. It's January, vision boarding. So I like to say, if you wait till January to set your goals, it's too late. But this group, they were doing vision boarding in their 2023, and goal setting became an appropriate topic to get into. So I guess what I want to say now is it's really never too late to draft your goals, refine your goals, update your goals, evaluate and revise your SMART goals to make SMART goals smarter. And when I learned the SMART goal setting model, I thought it was cool, but then I ultimately learned that it didn't hold anybody accountable to changing their behavior. We all know the definition of insanity. If you're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So I'm here to tell you that if you want new results, you have to change behavior. And that's what the A in the model is. The second A is for ambitious. It gets us thinking about the behaviors that we need to be clear that we need to change in order to get a new result, and to change the R to infuse it with all of the why of it all, reason and reward and so forth. So we talk about in the SMART goal setting workshop, barriers to setting goals, the difference between a hope, a wish, or a dream and a goal, how to infuse our goals with more motivation, more accountability, more unstoppability. We dialogue and workshop samples of good goals, not good goals, or how do we turn a less than SMART goal into a SMART goal, and how do we make a SMART goal smarter? And we're going to keep on adding to this. So it's like an e-course with some set content in there, but I want you to consider it a membership also, because we're going to do quarterly goal setting workshops, and we're going to record those and keep loading it. We're going to load this up with value over and over. So you get it once, you consume the material, but it's going to be more membership style community. And of course, that's a $300 or $297, $297 or $300, but here's $100 off TIG VIP 100 for $100 off the small SMART goal setting e-course. And then other than that, I really don't have anything else to like promote or offer, other than for those of you that are out there that have not experienced them. I built my practice offering 2 complimentary coaching sessions. I've trained coaches that know how to do this now. And depending on how many leads I get in any given time, I'll reach out to coaches and say, hey, can you do the session, etc. This is a good match for you. But I still do complimentary coaching sessions as my schedule allows. And those of you that are out there that are interested in understanding what that experience is like, later on when we get to the section on engagement, I'm going to talk about it in great detail from the book. But if you want to experience what it's like to get 2 complimentary coaching sessions from me or a coach that I've trained, then you can go to, I don't know, I'm easy to find. Do a message, look me up, direct message me, go to the website, getaklu.net or theintegritygame.com. The information will come into us and we'll get you dialed in. Other than that, I don't have anything else to share or announce or promote, other than my gratitude for you, Dr. Tom, for coming on board. Dr. Kosh for joining us through some comments and some interaction. Anybody else that's out there watching a recording of this? I see Patty. Hi, Miss Patty. I see you out there online in the comment section. So anybody that's watching a recording, if you're doing, it's like if you're here in any way, shape, or form compared to anything else you could be doing, that makes me feel really good. That means that you trust that I'm going to be providing value or entertainment or some combination of edutainment or value or insights or a Kluby snack or something. And I've had this really great saying lately that's catching on, and I'm going to be repeating it a lot. Why would anybody spend a minute of their time, a second of their time, trying to prove a hater wrong when we could prove the believers right? So for folks like you, Dr. Tom and Dr. Kosh and Patty, and those of you that are out there following and paying attention to what I'm doing and trying to do for the coaches that are out there, thank you for giving me the opportunity to prove you right. All right. Unless there's anything else, this is Jeff Kluback, Coach Jeffrey, with another installment of Get a Klu in 52 for coaches, myself included. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week with tip number 5.